And if you think about it, there has to be some point, there has to be some time when you know what you know. Because if you don't know, you'll run into hesitancy. You'll be hesitant to act. If you don't know what you know, you'll run into anxiety. You'll be so tense and so stressed that you're uptight all the time. If you don't know what you know, you'll run into insecurity. You won't even be able to get up and go out the house because you'll be afraid. If you don't know what you know, you'll run into instability, not only in your life, in your home, but in your community. But at some point, we've got to get to the place where we know what we know, because if you don't know what your foundation is, you don't know where to stand. If you don't know what truth is, you won't know what's right. So we don't know what we know, but at some point we must know. That's why I'm glad about this text here, because Paul helps us out. Paul is writing in a time of uncertainty. He's writing during the height of the Roman Empire, where, among other things, they didn't know what would be the fate of the church. They didn't know what would be the fate of people who claimed Jesus Christ. And he certainly didn't know what his fate was, because at the time that he wrote it, he was locked up in jail. But here's what he says. He says in that 28th verse of one of the most powerful chapters in the Bible, he says, and we know. There's a whole lot of stuff we don't know. There's a whole lot of stuff we can't figure out. A whole lot of stuff we'll never know. But and we know. He says, and we know. Now, most people, when they read this, they might misunderstand and think that he says, and we know all things. That's not what he says. That's why you're going crazy, because you don't know all things. You want to know all things, but because you can't know all things, you're pulling out your hair. Because you can't know all things, you just don't know what to do. But this is the part that's going to bless you. He doesn't say, and we know all things. He says, and we know that all things.